Hello and welcome back to Behind the Paddle podcast with me, Porcelain Victoria. So today we are going to talk about pet play. We're going to talk about colours and creatures inside the world of pet play. So, pet play is one of the most misunderstood and most emotionally layered forms of kink. It's not about bestiality. It's not about humiliation, it's about transformation, trust, obedience, identity, and joy. So now we're gonna define what pet play is and why more and more kinksters are barking, meowing, and galloping into it. So, I myself, I am a pup. I am a little Pomeranian. Cute, annoying, bratty. The majority of the time, I get what I want. I absolutely love being a pup. It gives such a different reality, and you, again, with the majority of kink, you get to forget about bills, you get to forget about adulting, you get to forget about the worries of life, and you just get to be a creature, you get to be an animal. Again, you don't think about bestiality or anything like that. You just become something else, and it can be fun. So let's get something clear from the start. Pet play is not zoophilia. It's not about sex with animals. It's about humans consensually role playing as animals and caretaking them. Pet play is a form of role play. And no, you don't have to be submissive to be a pet. Again, as I've said multiple times, there has been like a traditional role, if that makes sense, where you see it in movies or porn where that specific role or that role play is specifically submissive, and you see that quite often. But in reality, you don't have to be submissive to be a pet, and you don't have to be dominant to be an owner or caretaker. You take on a physical form, it's psychological and behavioral traits of an animal. You don't need to be submissive. So, again, the handler, trainer, owner, caretaker, you don't need to be dominant. You guide, you use discipline, you nurture that pet in a structured scene or long distance scene, all dynamic. See, it can be non sexual and it can also be sexual. It can include restraints, it can include kink, it can include erotic power exchange. And of course, it can be part time or lifestyle. For me, it's lifestyle in the way where if I can play, if I can be a pup, then I will be. I guess you could say it's part time as well, but we're not always pets. We're not always submissives. We're not always dominants. Some people can be, absolutely, but I find that's quite rare that somebody is like 100% dominant or a specific type of role all the time, because it's exhausting. When you are in a dynamic, especially, it is exhausting. But I would say I lived the BDSM lifestyle, even if I wasn't working as a dominatrix. It is my life. It is something which I need. to fulfill myself, and I need that in others as well if I do make any connections. So it can also be playful or really intense, or it can be both of those together. Everybody is different, everybody feels things differently, and it can be therapy or fantasy. We'll dive more into that later on. So, we're now going to give a brief history of humans becoming beasts. For as long as humans have been telling stories, we've been fascinated with becoming something other, especially animals. We've got totems and shapeshifting gods. In ancient Egypt, deities like Anubis, the jackal headed god of the dead, love very much, or Basset, cat headed goddess of protection and pleasure. We're not were not just symbols, they were embodiments of power, mystery, and primal instinct. The Greeks told stories of Zeus transforming into a swan, a bull, or an eagle to seduce or assert dominance. Lycaon, cursed by Zeus, became the first wolf in mythology, giving us the root of the word lycanthropy. In Norse mythology, berserkers donned bearskins, channeling the raw ferocity of animals in battle. Odin himself was said to transform into animals to traverse realms. Shamanic transformation rituals across Siberia, the Americas, Africa, and Asia. Shamans put on animal skins or masks in ceremonies designed to bridge human and non-human worlds. By imitating animals, like howling like wolves, moving like deer, they believed they could heal, travel spiritually, or gain wisdom. Transformation was not seen as pretend, but as real. The animal spirit entered the body, and for a time, human identity dissolved. And then we have costume sacred rites, where many indigenous cultures had ceremonial dances with elaborate animal costumes. Feathered headdresses, antlers, furs, used not only for spiritual purposes but also for social bonding. The Dogon people of Mali perform masked dances where humans channel ancestral and animal spirits. The First Nations of North America hold traditions like the Thunderbird and wolf dances, where performers blur human and animal. These rites weren't entertainment, they were sacred acknowledgments of the blurred boundaries between humanity, animality, and spirit. Becoming an animal has always been a way of accessing power beyond the ordinary self. In BDSM culture, fast forward to the 20th century, and this ancient impulse found a new home within kink and leather communities. In the 1970s, where a lot of kink was found, there was the leather scenes and Petplay. The post-Stonewall gay male leather scene became a laboratory for role-play and identity. Early versions of puppy play were emerging, men on all fours wearing collars, embodying loyalty, playfulness, or primal aggression. Unlike mythic shapeshifting, here the transformation was about sexuality, intimacy, and chosen kinship. It gave gay men a way to explore submission and dominance through animal archetypes outside heteronormative gender expectations. In the 1990s, structured pony play. While puppy play grew quietly, pony play gained traction in fetish spaces. This was highly stylized, elaborate tack, bridles, carts, and leather harnesses. Some events mimicked dressage competitions with ponies, judged on obedience, performance, and beauty. This shift marked a move from private play into public performance and community recognition, paralleling how ritual animal embodiment once united tribes. 2000 to the present day, there's been an explosion of pet and fantasy play. the internet brought visibility and connection. Suddenly, pups, ponies, kittens, and more fantastical beings like dragons, foxes, hybrids found each other online. Communities flourished on forums, then on platforms like FetLife, Twitter, Discord, and even Kick. That was where I first had my own little Petplay group of random people on the internet. Gear evolved too. There became more latex hoods with muzzles, silicone tails, elaborate ears. From cute to feral, the diversity of expression exploded. Now, I remember buying some like zombie kitten ears because, at the start I thought I was like such a fancy, delightful, like soft little kitten. Nah, mate, I'm a rough and tumble pup. So, what had once become sacred ritual or underground kink became a visible subculture with conventions, competitions, and international meetups. From ancient masks to modern hoods, we've always longed to shed language and run wild. Going back into how I became kinky, Sexcetera was one of the first places where I saw pet play. And seeing a grown man pretend to be a pony and escape from reality, that was amazing to see at such a young age. And to go, wow, this is amazing. And I want to be a part of this community. I can totally relate to this. I'm not alone. So, of course, you have your stereotypes on what a pup should be, kittens and ponies and mythical creatures. So, what kind of pet are you? Not all pets bark, not all pets are the same. So, these are the common roles in the pet play universe. So, we've got pups who are usually loyal, excitable, energetic. They thrive on praise and discipline. And with the type of gear, you've got hoods, mitts, and tails. But do not worry, if you don't have any of that, you're still a pup. You can still um be in that fantasy, be in that role play. You don't need all the gear. Like the gear is expensive. And I have hoods, but I don't actually really like hoods. I prefer ears and tails. So just because you don't wear a certain type of equipment or gear doesn't make you any less of a pup. And I know that I was quite intimidated, and when I first started, I saw there was a lot of male pups, and I'm a female pup, and so I felt a bit not outcast, but like I didn't know if it was okay for me to be a pup. And what I say to that is, honestly, in kink, in life, there shouldn't really be, when it comes to this, there shouldn't be any gender roles. It should just be, you enjoy doing this? Wonderful, come join in. You shouldn't have to second guess if it's okay just because of your gender. So, pups are often trained with commands of agility and scent games. So you've got to sniff and figure out what the scent is or where the scent is. It is a lot of fun. And of course, belly rubs, scratches, fetch, one of the best games ever. And with kittens, kittens are usually playful, bratty, sensual in a way. They enjoy teasing, curling up, soft dominance, and again, their gear can be ears, collars, claws, and often includes grooming, lap time, so laying on somebody's lap, and sometimes like independent scenes. So like they can just go off and do their own fucking thing. They're cats, let's be honest. They're up to mischief. And of course with ponies, oh, so regal, so precise and performative. Focused usually on presentation and really good endurance. They should do if they're a pony. And of course, the gear is bites, hooves. You can get like latex hooves, PVC hooves, 3D printed hooves. You've got harnesses and brindles. Usually, you can get carts which you can pull. Um, you do dressage routines and fetish exhibitions. And I'm sure a few events that are always looking for ponies as well. I think it's everybody's so adorable. I love it. Ponies with like their manes and how beautiful they can gallop. Love it. Love it. And then of course you've got your wild animals. You've got your foxes, your wolves, your dragons. So they're usually fucking very feral. Dominant leaning pets. They may resist training or offer conditional submission. And of course, you've got like, you can get hybrid ears and tails or fantasy accessories. You know, go wild. This is for yourself more than other people. Do what makes you happy and dress how you want to dress with this. The usual roleplay with wild types is usually prey, predator. They're centered on like a hunt or a chase and capture and like pack dynamics as well, depending on what type you are. The species is the stage, the personality is the performance. And hey, you can be a kitten and you can be a dominant little thing. You don't have to be like sexual. You don't have to be sensual. You don't have to be bratty. You don't have to be certain things. Like there is no in BDSM there is no set rules. There is no set things you have to go by. Again, as long as there are boundaries, as long as there's consent, go for it. So why do people do pet play? So common motivations for pets. Well, to surrender language and overthinking. As I said earlier, in daily life we are tethered to words, text messages, emails, constant explanations, adulting. Pet play offers a silence where a bark, a nuzzle, or even just a stillness is enough. For many pets, dropping human language is deeply liberating. They can express themselves through movement, sound, and instinct rather than through carefully chosen words. A reason to become a pet might also be to receive unconditional affection. A pup curling up at a handler's feet, a kitten stretching across a lap. These gestures replicate the simple, unconditional warmth pets give in everyday life. For the human pet, it creates a space where love isn't earned through performance but given freely. To express submission through behavior, not speech. Instead of saying yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, a pet can bow their head, roll over, or wait patiently for touch. Submission becomes physicalized, embodied, making the surrender feel less cerebral, more instinctual to safely regress without age play. Some pets describe the joy of just being. They can nap, play, chase a ball, chew a toy, all without pressure to be a responsible adult. Unlike age play, this regression isn't about becoming a child. It's about accessing a primal state of innocence, a safe escape from responsibility. To explore primal or instinctual urges. Scratching, biting, chasing, wrestling, Pet play allows urges that are often suppressed in daily life to surface in consensual, playful ways. For many, this bridges the gap between primal play and care-based submission, creating a unique flavor of kink. In short, pets step into fur to step out of themselves. And we're not going to forget handlers here. Common motivations for handlers: to care, guide, or train. Being a handler means balancing discipline with nurture. Many find fulfillment in the act of guiding, whether it's teaching a pup tricks or establishing routines. To control through nurture rather than punishment. Unlike harsher forms of domination, pet play often emphasizes gentle authority. A leash isn't just a tool of control, it's a lifeline of connection. For handlers, this is a softer form of power exchange, rooted in affection. To receive devoted, wordless love, the loyalty of a pup, or the attentiveness of a kitten provides something profound. Devotion stripped of negotiation. That deep trust fuels many handlers' sense of responsibility and care. To practice structure, consistency, and ritual. Feeding schedules, training exercises, designated spaces. All reinforce stability. Handlers often describe pet play as sharpening their ability to be present, consistent, and reliable, a skill that often spills into their daily lives. Pet play doesn't always bark like a power exchange, but underneath, it always is. So, now we're going to talk about pet play and sexuality. Is pet play sexual? Yes, no, sometimes it depends. It can be completely non sexual. Many pets and handlers never engage in overtly sexual acts. Instead, they focus on companionships like walks in the park, head pats, feeding, grooming, and play. For some, this is stress relief, identity play, or simply a way to experience intimacy without sex. Kink and roles in BDSM do not need to be sexual. They don't need to have sex. They don't need to have that lingering sexual part. They just don't. Not everything needs to be like that. So it can be lightly erotic. Others fold in subtle erotic undertones like a collar fastened snugly, a teasing command, or a ritual of kneeling before a handler. These moments carry sensual charge without necessarily crossing into overt sex. And then you have people who are intensely sexual. For some dynamics, pet play becomes a fully sensualized kink. Bondage, orgasm control, humiliation play, or sexual training. A handler may integrate Petspace into larger BDSM scenes, blurring the lines between care and raw erotic intensity. And that's okay. Consent is key. No bestiality or zoophilia. Pet play is humans only. No animals are involved, ever. The animal is an identity, not an actual creature. This distinction is central to the practice. And then you have pre-negotiation of roles, limits, and triggers. As with all kink, consent comes first. What does pet mean to this person? Do they bark, wrestle, fetch, or serve sexually? Handlers need clarity too. Are they nurturing, strict, or sexual partners in the dynamic? Again, a lot does need to be discussed beforehand. And of course, sex needs to be discussed, not assumed. Just because someone wears a tail butt plug doesn't mean it's an invitation for penetration or sexual touch. I swear to fuck, the amount of times that somebody has tried to touch a tail butt plug in my ass or has actually asked me, oh, is that in my ass? Hey, boundaries. We don't need to talk about sexual stuff, and you do not need to get off on the thought that there is something in my ass. No. Assumptions are the quickest way to break trust in pet play and also be creepy as fuck. Your tail is not a green light. Every touch needs consent, even in a leash. So, signs of a strong pet play / handler dynamic. This is just a big ego boost for you guys who are listening who already have a good dynamic. So, clear rules and rewards. Pets thrive when they know the boundaries, when to sit, when to play, when to speak. Rules give structure, just like in any role, in any dynamic. With rewards, praise, strokes, treats, reinforce trust and joy. Emotional attunement, so reading body language. A good handler doesn't just give commands, they watch. Is the pup wagging and energized, or curling inward and tired? Non-verbal cues carry more meaning than words. Again, that should go for any dynamic, really. You really need to hone in on the skill of being able to read body language in BDSM. Playfulness paired with structure. Pet play is fun. Chasing balls, tugging ropes, meowing for attention. But beneath the play is structure. You've got leashes, commands, training sessions. That mix of silly and serious makes the dynamic sustainable. You've got care before, during, and after scenes. Again, in any dynamic, in any scene. Handlers, so partners, whether that be play partners or you're in a dynamic with somebody, no matter what role, should provide water, blankets, reassurance, and the pets, so the people who the play is being on, provide snuggles and presents. We have went over aftercare, we've went over play before it happens and how to prep for it in the aftercare episode that we've done. So aftercare, it's vital. We've already mentioned this. A pet might need grounding after intense play. I know I certainly need grounding in bloody anyway, while a handler might need affirmation of their role and to be told that they did a really good job and that it was enjoyable. Ultimately, the measure of a healthy dynamic isn't the gear or performance, it's whether both partners come away feeling nourished and they both got joy from it. So now we're going to talk about the types of gear. So we've got collars, hoods, and harnesses. So pet play gear isn't just for aesthetics. It's functional, ritualistic, and for many, transformational. I know when I put on my ears and my collars, especially if they've got bells on them. I love my bells. Like the jingle, oh my god, yes. I will be jumping and skipping around the room with my bells on. I love when it's got a nice little jingle and I can just like scratch my ear and it goes jingle jingle. Oh my god, so cute. I love it. It just feels so good. So collars aren't just for like subdom dynamics. They're in a lot of BDSM dynamics. And it's collars are just one of those things where it is just like standard. So collars, they symbolize ownership or training status. We have talked about collars in a previous episode. I do believe the title is something along the lines of collars, and it does have a very deep meaning to some, and it is very traditional as well. So the collars, you can get collars in all sorts and different types. So like some collars can be lockable, they can be decorative, or they can be practical, or they can be really like tough, so like you can pull on them and they don't break. Because I know a lot of my collars are decorative, and like if you pulled on them, they might break. So like don't. Some collars can be worn in scene or out of scene. Again, like ponies can have collars, kittens and pups, dragons, anybody can. You've got ears and tails, you can get clip on ones or strap on ones. Tails, they could be belts, they could be plugs, or they could be clipped on. I love my tail and my ears because they help externalize identity, and especially because with me, I'm also a little as well. And like, even when I'm not feeling like a pup, if I want to mix being a little and like roleplay being a pup, if that makes any sense, like it's cute, it's adorable. Like I get to pretend to be an animal while in little space, and it's just so fun. And ears and tails can just help, especially with littles and brats and just non-verbal players as well, because you are showing who you are or how you want to play, and it really is another identity. And then of course you've got hoods and muzzles, which are common in puppy play and pony play. You can of course get them in kitten play, absolutely. They dehumanize the face, intensify nonverbal communication. It's optional if you want to get like mouth gags or blinders or snouts. Again, you don't have to have hoods or muzzles. You can get mittens, paws, and hooves. They reduce dexterity and reinforce the role that you're in. You can get leather or rubber mitts where the hands are kept curled. I do have paws, they're really cute. You can get hooves, as I said, for pony play. And then, of course, you can get harnesses, which are used for restraints and guidance and leads as well. I mean, some pets do prefer gentle harnesses, others do crave firm leads. What happens when you start thinking in words and start feeling unfair? So, as we've previously talked about, we've talked about little space and subspace. But what is pet space? Well, it's honestly quite similar. It's a mental and emotional headspace where the bottom, the submissive, embodies their creature self. It's not about surrendering to nothingness, it's about becoming something else, often described as primal, playful, and instinct driven, free from the pressures of human roles. So, common features of pet space: reduced verbal ability. Pets may struggle to speak in full sentences, defaulting to barks, meows, or simple words. Heightened sensory awareness to sounds, smells, textures, and touch feel sharper and more meaningful. Playfulness, brattiness, or obedience. Depending on the pet, the energy may range from mischievous and stubborn to calm and compliant. Craving for approval, contact, rhythm. Pets often may look to handlers for cues, seeking strokes, praise, or routines that anchor them. Feeling protected, prized, or poised. Many describe a deeper sense of safety, belonging, and identity while in pet space. So, some triggers in pet space, again, it varies from person to person. The act of putting on ears, a collar, or a tail is a transition. Many say ears first, tail last. And of course, commands in a certain tone, a firm sit, or a gentle good pup can pull someone instantly into their role. Physical contact, head pats, scratches behind the ears, a guiding hand on the back of the neck. Oh my god, all of those Yes, please. I will become instantly submissive. You give me head pats. You touch the back of my neck. You guide me. Oh my god, yes. Like you scratch. Oh my god, yes. Just yes. You've got sound cues. So the jingle of a leash, the snap of a clicker, or a bell ringing. So now you've got rituals of the role: grooming, feeding, and care. So with the grooming, you've got brushing hair or fur, cleaning paws or a face with a cloth, trimming nails, sensual or disciplinary grooming. So like grooming is teasing touch or as discipline, restrained brushing that emphasizes control. So when it comes to feeding, you can have pet bowls, kneeling meals, so eating on the floor or from a dish, can deepen the sense of animal embodiment. Of course, you've got food restrictions for training. So, with negotiation and care, again, we talk about this. Feeding schedules or treat denial can be used as obedience practice. And then we've got bedtime. So, crate rest, consensual confinement. A pet might nap or rest in a crate, evoking protection as much as containment. Napping in a handler's lap, the simple intimacy of falling asleep while being stroked or held. Snuggling with toys or blankets. Comfort objects reinforce safety and belonging. Training and discipline, obedience, brattiness, and games. So, why train? Reinforce roles and rituals. Well, training creates repetition, and repetition makes the role stick. Over time, a pet doesn't just act like a creature, they feel like one. It deepens trust through structure. A pet knows what to expect, and a handler shows consistency. Structure is a form of safety. Predictability allows surrender. Building excitement, challenge, and meaning. Training adds novelty and goals. It's playful but also progressive. Pets thrive on being challenged, and handlers thrive on guiding them through the challenge. Common training elements: basic commands like sit, stay, heel, beg, simple drills that root the pet into their role. You've got obstacle courses, crawling through tunnels, jumping hoops, weaving cones, playfulness. You've got fetch, scent tracking, hunting games. Pets may fetch toys, follow a scent trail, or hunt with handler guidance. Submission drills, kneeling on command, presenting body, maintaining silence, reinforcing obedience and focus. With discipline, you've got many different styles. So you've got timeouts, you've got the silent treatment, you've got denial of toys or affection, physical correction, a tug of the leash, a firm spank, or a controlled grip. Always, though, pre-negotiate all of these. So we've got different roles for handlers. The handler, practical, caring, calm, focuses on scene management and safe guidance. The trainer is usually stricter, often focused on drills, performative, and structured discipline. More performance based, sometimes even competitive. You've got the owner, who is more possessive, emotionally invested. The bond is long term and deeply personal. The role blurs sometimes BDSM ownership with pet devotion. Again, you can be these roles, but you don't need to follow these guidelines. So, traits of a good handler: use a clear tone and consistency. Pets really do flourish when commands are firm, unambiguous, and steady. Patience, of course, is especially important with pets who are neurodivergent or nonverbal. Training can be playful and slow paced. Affection without infantilization. Pets aren't children. Care is intimate, but it respects the adult within the role. authority rooted in care, not ego. A handler leads not because they crave control, but because they offer safety and structure. So, in the inner world of pet play, shame and exposure, the emotional edge of pet play. Not all pet play is soft. Some pets crave humiliation, exposure, being seen in their creature form, raw and real. So, the shame curve. Internalized embarrassment. Many pets, especially those raised with rigid norms about sex and propriety, feel deep shame about wanting to crawl, bark, or be led. Pet play gives them a container to let the shame breathe. Within a negotiated scene, a handler can rescript shame as intimacy. I see you, I accept you. Just like all BDSM, we can reshape it. This can be cathartic, an old wound held up and then soothed. Being seen as needy, obedient, dirty, the humiliation of being on all fours, drooling, begging, is not something to avoid but to eroticize. Well, why does it work? Well, the handler is like a mirror. The message becomes, I see your filth and I still love you, or I still want to play with you, or I accept you. Erotic degradation as acceptance. So now let's talk about one of the most powerful truths in kink. Pet play can heal, just like any other kinks out there. For the pet, healing childhood neglect by receiving gentle care, so like warmth, feeding, grooming, can meet old unmet needs. It can help with processing PTSD through controlled regression. Structured play lets survivors safely go small or go instinctual on their own terms. It can help soothe anxiety by entering structured obedience with rules and routine. It can help quiet anxious minds, rebuilding boundaries through animal metaphor. Learning to growl, hiss, or signal discomfort can retrain as survivors' no reflex. Even for handlers, healing emotional detachment by offering consistent love. Some handlers practice patience and presence they never learned elsewhere, reclaiming control not as cruelty but as nurture. They rewrite their own relationship to power, developing patience, presence, and intuitive leadership. Pet play as a skill building ground for real world empathy. When a pet lays their head in your lap and breathes easy, sometimes that's the first time either of you have felt safe. Non-verbal connection, communication without language. One of the most transformative aspects of pet play is how quiet it is. So, with every kink and most BDSM episodes, I like to talk about the red flags. So, there will always be red flags in the community. You need to weave your way through them. There are bad people. And so, some red flags in pet play are the handler punishes without clear reason, pets feel abandoned or punished outside agreed upon play, if there's no aftercare or drop support, emotional manipulation disguised as training. All that is red flags. Avoid that. If any of that happens, you can tell them about it and move on. Or you can tell them about it, try again, and if it happens again, you move on. You know, it's up to you at the end of the day, but a red flag is always a red flag. Always communicate. Pet play is not just obedience, not just a bark, not just a scene. It's a form of devotion, of receiving care in the form of rules, or giving love in the form of attention. Some pets wag, some crawl, some run, some purr, but all of them, when they find the right handler, love hard. Pet play isn't a game, it's not just a kink, it's connection, devotion, structure, and surrender. You become a pet not to lose yourself, but to find the self the world told you to hide. And if someone leashes you with love, praise, care, and command, that leash isn't restraint, it's freedom through trust. So whether you crawl or gallop, purr or bark, obey or bite, you are not too much. You are someone's dream animal, and you deserve to be kept. This has been Behind the Paddle podcast with me, Porcelain Victoria, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Please leave a like and follow us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening. And if you do want any other topics, please give us a message and I'm sure we can sort that out. That's it for us. Bye.